You go first.
No, I can't go first. I have to do introductions. So it has to be. Peace and blessings, family. Y'all, I'm back up in here with the fabulous, beautiful, flawless, gorgeous, intelligent, the bomb, Christy Ketchum. Thank you, Christy, for joining me. You always look so fly. Who else lipsticks match they clothes like that? You know what I'm saying? I've been trying to do that. This shit don't come out right. But anyway, it's beautiful. I love being here.
Wonderful introduction.
Yes, fabulous child, fabulous.
I'm equally here with the fabulous Yolanda, okay? She is the bomb.com. When she walks in the room, everybody be on pause. So that's
that was a good one.
Okay, let me put this on.
Yeah, she gonna share it on her page, y'all. So tonight, you know how I do. I'm still working on the thing up in here, so to get us all up in here. But y'all gather with your friends, share this. This is a good conversation. We're gonna talk about some things. Why black girls and women. We're gonna look at violence, criminalization, and mentorship. Like the whole, we're trying to cover some different areas. But y'all, we need y'all to chime in tonight because we're gonna talk about what's going on with black girls and women in a lot of different with us, which is us, right? And so, Christy, what made you started working with black girls and women besides you being a black girl, now you're a black woman now? What made you start?
So for me, I think I had a revelation of my purpose and the work that I'm supposed to be doing at the age of 26. I'm going to be 45 in a month or so. Yes. And I think at 26 is when I had this revelation. I was working with an organization that did a lot of work around movement building. And I created a program that worked specifically with young people between the ages of 12 and 18. Mm-hmm. And at the age of 26 is when I learned like the most about my history and about myself and what my people had went through. And I also started learning a lot more about black women and their contribution to the civil rights movements and movements of all times, especially as we came here as enslaved Africans to America. And I was just so pissed that why am I just now learning about who I am as a black woman in America, but also about my people and my history. And so it became very clear for me to work with young people at that point. So I did that for about 10 years. But what I realized working with those young people, which were predominantly African American, was that if we don't work with their mothers, then we're doing a disservice to the young people, because it didn't matter how many great and wonderful opportunities that their young people had, especially their girls, they still had to go back home. And so for me, it became very clear that this is a package deal, and that we couldn't just try to uplift and inspire our girls without also going and making sure that we're doing that with their mothers. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So in 2010, I started Our Rightful Place, which is an organization that I started that specifically works on the advancement of black women and girls, and to think about what is the most important to us. So basically, after talking to women all around the country, and I've been to different countries talking to black women, it became very clear about some of the things that were really important to us. But not only that, some of the things that we needed to do to continue the legacy, and to also just to make sure we realize who we are and the role that we play in the world. And I think we forget that oftentimes. And so Our Rightful Place is the name of my organization, but it really is something that we need to embody and to think about more seriously, because as the mothers of civilization, as the women that have bore the world, right, and the burden of the world, we really have a more active role to figure out how we can get better as an overall community. And if we're not good, I seriously believe that other things will not be good as well.
Right on. I'm trying to make sure I tag you in this.
Yeah.
So, okay, y'all, right on. Y'all with that? Okay, so that's really good. Tell us about the Sacramento Sister Circle. How'd you get to the Sacramento Sister Circle? You said Our Rightful Place, but...
Yep, so the Sacramento Sister Circle is a project of Our Rightful Place, and the Sacramento Sister was established August 12th, 2011, right here in Sacramento, with 12 black women in my living room. I wanted to have a space for black women to come together. We have 6 pillars. Okay, the 6 pillars.
I'm up to count
I always
like a
talk
slow
about the
kid.
5 pillars, but it's
I'm
actually
counting like a
6.
slow kid. Okay.
And again, from my experiences and my work around the country and the world, I realized that these 6 pillars really embodied the legacy of Black women, our contributions, and what we did to kind of survive in this world that we live in. And so that's the study of Black women and girls, and being very clear about who we come from and the ancestors and the shoulders that we stand on. Mentoring younger women and girls. Like, we have to support these young ladies. We can't expect that they will do great and awesome things and not make the same mistakes that our mothers and our grandmothers did if we're not actually working with them and supporting them in their efforts. Advancing our, what is it? Going beyond our horizons. Like what is it? You know, going beyond, like, not doing the regular shit. So don't be saying what
going beyond limitations.
Yes,
if you will,
and what Black
okay.
girls don't do, what Black women don't do. We don't swim, we don't hike, we don't this, we don't do that. Like, going above and beyond and doing things that make us look and feel good. And that leads me straight up to just being your whole and complete self, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, like doing what you need to be a whole person, not part of a person, not half of a person, being politically active. We already got that, right? 95% of Black women voted in the last election.
Right.
We make good decisions. We're politically active. We're oftentimes the ones that's doing the phone calls, walking the precincts and doing all of those different things. So just being politically active more in the process of, like, running for these positions, being in positions of power, but then also making sure that what is important to us as Black women and girls is also part of everybody's agenda. And when we are a part of the agenda, we bring everybody with us. So when you think about Black women and girls, you bring in the boys, you bring in the men, you bring in the families, you bring in everybody. So we think about taking care of Black women, then we should realize that is how we take care of our community, because we're the pillar. And then also being physically active and just, you know, getting out and doing some stuff and making sure you're doing, you know, you're physically active. Like, we have some of the most horrible and horrific health disparities, right?
Yes, we do.
You know, even in regards to childbirth, Black women, middle class, college educated, have the birth rates of white women that are poor and that smoke cigarettes. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
That is so ridiculous.
If
she's smoking, she don't have the resources, the money, or the education of us, but we have the same birth outcomes. I have a problem with that. And so those are pretty much the pillars. And so just embodying those and living my life daily, you thinking about how those are a part of my life, and then also working with other women that think the same way and are doing the same things and work.
Right on, right on. It's funny when you were just talking, I was thinking about last night when I did the Worldwide African News, and I basically look at what's going on with Black women around the globe, but last night I was focusing on Africa. And one of the things they're working on, and I want to say is probably the Sudan, is making sure Black women are involved in the political process of making policies, but then also making sure the women who are in rural communities are just as empowered. So there's a lot of stuff around empowerment and inclusion that, you know, if you don't have women at the table, you usually don't have any balance.
Right.
And I think sometimes we misconstrue loudmouth Black women, I'm not going to front, like if they have so much power. Usually we're like that because we're trying to bring some attention. So I think sometimes we kind of miss the boat on that, but here we are, even on the continent of Africa, women are still fighting for their rightful place, like to be a part of the decision makings, the governance of everything. And so when you said that, that's exactly what I immediately thought of. So you right on it. We definitely need that. I mean, some of the stuff I read about last night, I was just like, wow, like.
And how in Sacramento we don't have any Black women on any
city council,
like decision making boards. There has been a push. I know BWAPA has been doing a great job to encourage, inspire, and support Black women to run for these positions and be in these positions. But how do we live in a city where we are not in any positions of power and decision-making power? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. But our children go to them schools.
How about we don't have any on the city council. We don't have any on the board of soups. We don't have any on like the school board.
Not
I'm just
even
going-
on the
Commission
side
or
that's
anything.
like ready to tag me in. Like we don't have nobody. Like how is that possible?
And that may speak to our standstill. Because when black women were included in those positions back, at least in the 80s and whatever, we were moving
Yeah.
a little bit more. Things were getting done.
Yeah.
Our voices were somewhat at the table where even if powers that be didn't do anything, they knew that the community would rally because
Right.
these women were at the table and we could make people move.
Right.
I'm not seeing the same effect
No.
with other people in those positions.
No.
I'm
I
just
also
saying.
don't think that we are educated and do the work in regards to knowing how systems work. Being able to challenge those systems in strategic ways because we have to do the work of educating ourselves and being more aware of like policies and legislation that is going through. I mean, we have to be a part of these conversations and
Right.
not just when it's time to vote. Like we got to be a part of these conversations way in advance. Like things don't even, like I can't reiterate how important it is to be a part of processes and not just being someone that they bring the information to you. Now you decide what you want to do based on the information that somebody else has came up with. Like why are we not at those tables having those conversations so that we are making sure that we're included? We're getting better. I see some progress, but we are at a deficit right now, in my opinion.
No, I don't disagree with you. I'm up here looking at you like, speak, sister, speak. Because it's the truth, and I feel like sometimes we're missing that energy on a larger scale. And we didn't even have social media back in '89 and stuff like that.
Right.
But I also remember black women knowing they need to be out there and be supportive, whether if they personally like the person or not. If they knew the
Yeah.
person was going to get in there and fight for the good of us all, they just had to back them. It's kind of like back in the day, a lot of people didn't like Jesse Jackson. And if you was to ask my mom, what you think about Jesse? And she said, like, I don't. She just keep pushing. She would not sit there and talk against Jesse Jackson. She just wouldn't do it. Even though she thought she didn't do it. He didn't do a damn thing. So, there's something.
And there's some good and some
Yeah,
bad in
yeah,
those things.
yeah.
And I think we're also being confronted with that now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
there are
because some people are counting on us to do that.
Yeah.
And to keep skating. No, you're absolutely right. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying there was a time when it was like, sometimes it felt like a no-brainer because at least the person had enough wherewithal and respect for us to at least fight for us because they know if they did, there would be a damn consequence.
Right.
You feel me?
I agree.
And I don't even know where that faction of the black community went. Who did
Well,
stuff
we
like
know
that?
where it is, crack.
Well, damn. Whew, yeah,
Let's talk about
that shit was real.
Let's talk about mass incarceration, and that goes both ways. Black women and black men.
men, right on.
We constantly are taking women out of the conversation
That's real talk.
of mass incarceration, but black women, I believe, are one of the highest rising populations to be
Yep.
incarcerated.
Yep.
Get harsher sentencing,
That's right.
longer time in jail. So we want to keep it 100, then let's keep it 100.
Well, Christy, so, I read a lot of reports of y'all, I'm looking down, but I feel like you just hit it on something very big. We know that black women face higher rates of intimate partner violence, rape, and homicides. But it feel like in our community, that's not enough of an issue for us to make that one of the top three, or even,
Yeah.
to me, it should be the top one. Because if somebody's up here beating on a woman and the woman is the whole shebang, there was a study that came out that said the black woman is the universe, basically, in the study. Like, she's the archetype. Like, you just can't get no one else beyond her.
They have
So
not
it's
been
like,
able to prove
you haven't
anything
been-
else.
Yeah. So with that being said, if we know that she's constantly under attack, she's constantly facing and experiencing violence at home, at school, at the job, in the neighborhood, you would think everything would be like, hold up for a minute.
No.
You can't have a black woman who is the archetype of the universe, come on, and of the mother of all humanity, and we're watching her being under attack at home, at school, at a job, in the community. I hate to say this, sometimes directly with other black women, I feel like something has to give. That's when things stop.
Yeah.
And it feels like, why do you think that is, that we don't talk about those particular issues? Black women facing and experiencing institutionalized racism. Like, why are we not talking about this? Survivors of physical and sexual violence. Why aren't we talking about this?
Higher rates of psychological abuse, including humiliation, insults, name calling, and coerced control.
Yeah.
Like
That's
sexual, the sexual violence in black women, those rates have been horrific.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a very high rate of occurrence that the people that you share a bed with and a brush with, as Flo John would say at a meeting we went to not too long ago, are the ones that are your abusers and harming you. Like, that's a problem.
That's not good.
And what I also see in working with young people is that this is happening at younger and younger ages.
Yes.
Like, we had an occurrence here with a young lady, Deja, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where she was killed by her, the father of her child.
Yes.
And it's like, we talk about, Stephon Clark, but we don't talk about her. We don't talk about Deja.
Well, that's because Stephon Clark was killed by a white man who was a cop, which means that's value. And their sister was murdered by a black boy who we always feel the need that we have to protect. Let's be honest. Because somehow sperm is more important than the whole universal, the archetype for the universe. And I'm not trying to say this, that's why I'm trying not to laugh now, because I'm a bit of a jokester.
Yeah,
but to me, that's very sad that I'm measured by life when it depends on the white person. And that to me that's not okay. It should be some worth and some matter there. Like our black girls should matter. And then his mom tried to help hide him out. I feel like her ass should be in jail, but that's just me. I feel like if we send these parents up to the prison with their kids, they may want to think about harboring their kids because they love them so much that you will harbor a criminal who killed another human life.
Right.
I mean, there'd be some things where it's like, that's shameful. I don't know.
And shamefulness, like, I don't see that. I feel like we have lost that in regards to integrity and, like, really the character of who we are as a people. Like, where is that? Because some of this stuff is just like, and I will say that a lot of it is a manifestation of trauma and mental illness. But, like, we're going to have to deal with some of this at some point. Like, this can't continue this way because we're seeing the progression of it.
But I agree. Let me just say I agree with you. But I have to say, this whole trauma word, we've been dealing with this shit since we got off the boat. What's more traumatic? What's more traumatic? Oh, God. But what's more traumatic than being held in the dungeon for months, getting in the belly of a slave ship, people are dying and shitting and pissing, but yours and my ancestors did not die. That's traumatic in itself. That's just 2 events. Then they got off the ship. They did all kind of shit, rape, all kind of shit on the ship. Then you got off into the new world, to the so-called new world, and then you were branded. Mm-hmm. And then you had all that shit is super traumatic.
All of it.
And you mean to tell me we are in the generation where trauma is just going to be like, well, I have a traumatic experience, that's why I can't show up. But I come from a people who showed up in spite of the trauma.
Yeah.
Because it was about pushing for a new day. And so even though people try to corrupt their morals, they still had a different moral that the white folks didn't even know they had.
I agree.
Even if they looked them in the face and said, little nigga, you ain't worth shit. Black folks didn't believe that shit, the ones I come from. They still was like, take your ass to school and learn everything you can. Right. But it seemed like that's the part that's missing because trauma is nothing new.
Well, and I also feel like it's a little bit of the chickens coming home to roost. Like, we're seeing the manifestation of a lot of things that we haven't dealt with in our community, right? In our homes, in our families. Like, there's so much trauma. Like, I can't go into a room with more than 10 to 15 women, and most of them have been affected by molestation by a family member.
Wow, that's true.
Like, that's a problem.
That's true. That's true. Do you think sometimes people are pimping our trauma?
Definitely.
That becomes big business?
But what's the problem is it becomes big business for other people, though. We don't even get... That's the problem, right? We don't even
PTSD.
We don't even get the benefits of the pimping of our own trauma.
I just say, I know some of our generations did not have the luxury of education and learning different terminologies for shit. They just knew they had to make it for their children and doing the best that they can. I think about all the trauma that at least in my own line that we've gone through, and I refuse to let a fucking joint take me out of here. I refuse to let some alcohol take my ass out of here. I'm just going to be honest. Like, that's just me. That's why I think it is important to know and understand your history. so that you can move beyond it. But because we don't study, a lot of us, I'm not trying to be funny, it's kind of like trying to herd sheep into a certain direction. And I always say sheep because, you know, supposedly sheep don't have free will. But if you're a human being, you have free will. And I think there is something about us always wanting to hang our what's happening to us on something instead of saying, damn it, we're going to make it. And so ask for what it is that you need. But other than that, if you wait on people,
have a problem with asking for what we need. I don't think we've been able to get always what we need.
Okay.
I think we've always been taught to not ask for what we need. And I think this is a result of some of that. But I am encouraged, though. Let me tell you why.
Why are you encouraged?
Because I see a budding of women that are actually doing these things, that know their history, that are learning, that are fighting against, you know, racism and microaggressions and like rising above that, right? And I think we always kind of talk about the bad things or what's wrong, but I definitely see women and black women, and particularly here in Sacramento, that are really doing some wonderful and awesome work. And I really hope that will continue this trajectory.
Right on.
Because I remember when I first started the Sacramento Sister Circle in 2011, I can promise you there wasn't anything that was like that. And in the last 8 years, I've seen so many black women-led organizations and so many different things that we are now doing in the community. And I'm not going to take credit for that. No, not at all. But if I was helpful to help that, I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that we have over 7,700 black women on our Facebook group on the Sacramento Sister Circle, and black women feel like they can come and have a space to have conversation and discussion and learn things. We can learn about what other black women are doing. We can support and encourage and nurture, you know, the leadership of black women. I'm proud of that. But is that all? Definitely not. We have a lot more work to do, but at the same time, you know, it's a work in progress, and I feel like there is an awakening. I think things have to get worse before they get better, which is very unfortunate, and it has pretty much been the plight of our people while we've been in this country. But at the same time, I definitely feel like black women are awakening to not being and succumbing to all this bullshit. And if that's what we're doing, then that's what I want to be a part of.
Right on.
And that's the women that I want to be working with.
Right on. Do you think in that, and I agree with everything you said, do you think sometimes because we don't do history, we think that it's a wave? So for instance, we'll say there's a wave going on and there's a new phase, but sometimes we forget that we've been through this phase at least 100 times in the black community. We can go back to every decade and we could point out a year or two or five where black women were very mobile, we were building stuff, and then somehow we got to either a plateau where we got tired and we had nobody to hand shit off to, or we picked people.
We didn't cultivate.
Yeah, we cultivate, or we handed it to somebody because we was into classism and all that bullshit, and then the person took your shit and dismantled it because they wanted you to be with white people and have nothing for your own people.
Assimilation.
So yeah, assimilation. Thank you very much. So I'm right there with you, and I'm only saying that because I feel like when I look at history, it's like, damn, women's suffrage movement. Black women, we always get it in every
Well, and this
decade.
is crazy because, like, in the
decade.
1930s and 1940s, Ida B. Wells, Mary Bethune McLeod, they were already meeting, and these women didn't stay in the same places.
No,
they were around
the
Southeast
Facebook,
region.
They had no
Facebook. They were meeting. They were having gatherings, and we've seen the pictures of these historic gatherings where black women would come together and have these conversations. We know that they were talking about strategy. We would know that they were talking about how they were going to make sure that their children had a better life than they did. And we know that they fought for the abolitionist movement and the civil rights movement and all of these different things, right? So, yeah, it's definitely not new, but I do feel like we are rebuilding from the crack era. There was a major dismantling that happened in our families and our communities that had never happened before in this country, in my opinion. And when that epidemic hit our country, hit our communities, like, we saw something very different. We even saw black women act differently than they've ever.
Yeah, we've seen black women adjust themselves and sell their children. I mean, that's real. That really happened.
And kill themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
and kill each other. Yeah.
But I also have to say, even in that period too, Christy, because I remember this, I seen black women do things extraordinary, like have something like the Birthing Project, where black women got together and was like, let's pair up a black woman who know her way through the system to help up to pair up with the pregnant black woman to make sure she have good birth outcomes, but also make sure she's being sheltered through the movement, and she's being sheltered through the system. Because at this time, because that's when foster care blew up in the 90s. But I remember people like Mother Hale. Every city damn near had a Mother Hale. So I just think sometimes, though it is great that we have waves, I think the difference between us and other groups is that other groups don't always act like it's just like, this is just happening right now in 2019. They'd be like, we've been doing this shit back through the ages.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't even be here if I didn't tell you I was standing on all these other people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's always a constant battle. One of the battles I see us having sometimes as black women is we have this battle of I'm something new under the sun. And it's like, dude, ain't shit you doing. You do what we do in times of crisis.
Right.
You do. You see a need, and you try your best to fill that need.
And I'll say this all the time. A lot of the things in the work that I do does not directly benefit me. Right.
Hey,
like, let's just be honest. Like, I do
it.
work, and I feel a responsibility to do work that does not actually benefit me. I work with foster youth. I work with crime survivors. I work with, young people. Like, I don't have to do that work, right?
Right on.
But I do that work because it's part of the legacy that I come from. I come from women that help other people and that raise other people's children and do, go above and beyond, sometimes despite themselves, right? And I think we need to figure out how do we do that and keep ourselves, take care of ourselves, and be our whole and full selves, and then build on stuff. Because what I do know is, yes, we did this great thing with Birthing Project, and there was a lot of great things that
was
have
a lot.
happened.
WCIC, I can go down the list.
Yes, right. But where are they now?
That's my point.
And so how do we build stuff up that can sustain the building and continue to build, as opposed to being dismantled, and we have to build it back up again?
I think part of that, and I agree with you, that's a great question. Y'all chime in too in here. If y'all feel like, hey, you want to give us some suggestions for stuff, please give us some suggestions. But what I was going to say to you too, Christy, how do you deal with people who don't have your same objective? Because I find that that's a problem. So we're all black women, and I've seen this happen a lot too. Partly what happened with that is that the person passed it on to somebody because they had an MBA, but the person detested black people, and she went about the business of dismantling that 25 year
and we are
legacy.
used to dismantle, right? Too, we're easily used to dismantle.
Yeah. And April Jean definitely always talk about that. I really agree. But that's why I brought that thing in terms of the past. And I'm one of those people who bring the past because I think part of it is we don't necessarily understand that the concept is nothing new. I always tell people I'm just a continuum. So all the things I've been able to do, continue to do, working with girls. Sometimes I have to back off of grown women because I can't work with black women who don't have morals. No, I can't work with black women who do not have morals. I can't work with black people that act like it's okay for you to do fucking deplorable shit because you're a woman, you deserve to do the same thing that men do. That's great as long as there's no consequences. When you know there's a consequence, like that's not my moral
always
compass.
A consequence.
Yeah, but sometimes we be thinking like, it's okay that I slept with my daughter's boyfriend, and that's okay because I'm doing me. I'm not into celebrating the ratchet. I'm not trying to diss the ratchet. We're not in the same damn place, and we may both be black women. How do you deal with women that you don't necessarily have those things in common with? Is it possible for us to exist on the same carpet of life?
I think it is possible to exist on the same carpet. However, I do believe...
Javon, I'm sorry. I looked at the comment. I didn't hear
What
Javon.
say?
Javon said, the person is Wendy, the Wicked Witch of the West. But see, that person brought her in though. Because, that's a whole other story.
And while she wasn't watching Wendy, she wasn't watching Wendy.
No.
She was letting Wendy do what she was doing. The other one came right in and destroyed it.
Yeah.
And
Actually, now the white woman's over the organization now. Now the white woman is running that. But she got some niggas helping her. But go ahead.
Yeah, always.
I'm sorry, some black women. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to work on my mouth.
There are some people that are considered to be niggas.
I know.
Okay?
God.
Sorry.
Sorry about that, y'all. I'm trying to get better. So how do you do that? How do you work with somebody y'all more?
I do believe that we are harder on each other than we are anybody else.
I agree.
Right? And so I try to come from a place of understanding and grace. But that shit only lasts so long.
Christy, I'm depending on you to help
like,
assist
that
out
only
here.
gonna last for so long. Like, don't try me. Like, right? So it's like, I think definitely having some understanding and some compassion. I think we understand each other way more than and have more in common with each other than we don't.
I agree.
So I'm definitely gonna come to that place first. But there's some people that just can't go with us. Everybody can't go.
Now
So we
you
can be
now
on
you
the
sound
same
like
carpet.
J-Ron.
We can be on the same carpet. But if you acting up continuously, then you got to go. That's it. Like, I don't have to rock with you. And I don't think we have to, like, dispose people and do all of that. But that does not mean that I have to rock with you. And I rock with those that I feel like are on the same page with me. We have like-mindedness. I mean, even God talks about being with, rocking with people that's on your level or above. Like, we don't have to, dig down in the gutter. I'm not doing that all the time, right?
Right on.
If you want to rock, then let's roll. Let's do this. And I have a lot of women that I just appreciate the work that they're doing, and I know that they support me and nurture me too. Those are the ones that tell me, like, girl, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I have plenty of friends that have been like, Christy, now that's not a good move. Don't do that. But it's also important for us to have those. I have a big problem with women, especially black women, that have a problem with other black women. Like, what's wrong with you? That you don't have relationships and friendships with black women and you're not trusting of black women. That's something else that we need to deal with and recognize. I think also, though, we want to make sure that we touch on this whole violence against black women, though, because why are we comfortable with how we are being treated? Like the young women that you were talking about earlier today, that these are babies, these are girls that are being found in the trash. Their names, say their names.
One name is Nevaeh Adams. She was 5 years old. She was discovered. I'm trying to put her picture up here. That's why I moved the camera around. Nevaeh, I talked about her a lot with my black girls that are missing. 5 years old. She was found in a landfill. Murdered.
5 years old.
5 years old.
Like, how did the baby be gone that long? Nobody know where she at to be found days later in a landfill. Like, who has access to our children in that way?
Yeah, she's been missing for a while. So it's like, she's 5. Where is she? Blah blah blah. Like, we're still looking for this 3-year-old that's missing. Cupcake. I keep saying Cupcake because she looks like a cute little cupcake.
Aww.
So that is her name. The other sister name, I just messed her name all the way up. This is Hawaya. She's a black girl. I'm gonna put her picture up here too. She was found in a pile of trash in Alabama. A pile of trash. And so for me, the fact that, let me put her face up here. The fact that these are little girls I'm talking about now. They found a woman floating in the Hudson River. They don't even know. Black woman floating in the Hudson River on the New Jersey side. And they're trying to identify her, so they posted up her picture. I'll put her face up there too. But the fact that these black girls and women are being so discarded, that makes me feel indisposable. Yeah. And then I feel like sometimes we further impact that because we don't even feel any way that they're missing.
Yeah.
That's not enough news. And Lord knows, as a cop shoot a black man tonight, they further move down on the pile.
And black women are some of the first to be out there protesting.
Yeah. Because sometimes, penises are more important than poom poom, as my kids said today in class. But vaginas. I said, poom poom, what is that? I be feeling sometimes so old. But the babies, they keep me so grounded because I'm learning from them. Because they be like, that means this, Ms. Robert. Baby. I had never heard poom poom. Yeah, I'm like, what's poom poom? Somebody in the bathroom? So I'm sorry, y'all. But I just feel like when you think about stuff like that, it's like, and when I work with these young ladies, if they were to come up missing, I would feel like, well, we care.
And what did we do to protect them?
Yeah, like, why are we holding our girls and women as important as everything else in our lives?
Yeah.
But you could tell by what people value, by what they put in front of, was on their, I look down people's Facebook pages and they be trumping, Lord, I mean, it's like, I take that word out. They be promoting for other people to just be whatever they choose to be. But when you're a black girl or woman, where's the value in that? Amongst your own
But everybody
want
to look like us and be us, but they don't want that. They don't want that struggle.
People get hugs from us after they murder our sons, and we be like, "Baby, fix your hair." But it's kind of like this. That speaks volumes that you can find these women in the trash.
Yeah.
These babies in the trash. These are 3
years
old. No, and so we have 65,000 black girls that are missing. So that speaks
Plus
to something.
65.
Plus, some people say 75,000. I don't know, but it's something to that. Let me just say this before we get into this next part. I want to say education policies often regulate Black female student nonviolent movements, labeling expressions and forms of communication as defiant or disobedient.
Yeah.
So just the way you show up as a Black girl, and you know, and I have Black girls that have energy in my class, you know, that's seen as defiant or disobedient. Thus, the behavior of Black girls is often criminalized by the school authorities. And I'm gonna have to say, I'll be honest, some Black people who work in those positions are just as threatened as white folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so, because I had great Black teachers, I'm serious. Maybe because they had permission to whoop me, they didn't. But because they were really older
women.
You
also were in another place.
I was another time. No, in Sacramento, I had Miss Hester Snyder, I had Miss Winnie Bender, but these women were all Southerners who went to school. They were considered to be race women, so they went to school to come back and help their community. They went to universities first in their family, like their mamas and them was the help.
And they came back.
Yeah. And then they ended up out here because their husband was in the military, so they were teachers out here. Miss Winnie Bender, Miss Hester Snyder, and Miss Mae Thompson. I'm gonna say 3 of their names. They elders right now, but they were great. They kept me on my toes. Like, please don't call my mama. Black girls are often disproportionately subject to racial profiling and police brutality and incarceration rates that exceed their share of the population.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that means that Black girls are in trouble.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We are in trouble. And so there's something has to be done about that. And I'm in a firm belief that that means that we must show up as Black women. Because who came out and reached out to me, and I wasn't the bad kid, I ain't gonna front. I think I was too scared to really be bad.
My mother was crazy.
My mother was old school, she was crazy. Probably crazy, straight up. But I did struggle, and I did struggle in identity, where to fit in. You know, Black folks, some of us have a way of making you feel that you ain't shit because you ain't in trouble, or you wearing bobos, or you don't have a certain hairdo. That my mom trying to pay rent, my mom won't get no welfare, and I'm not trying to claim anybody on welfare. My mom worked 3 or 4 jobs, so she didn't have extra time to do other shit. You know, so it's kind of like, how would we, if I didn't have those teachers like I just named, and the hall monitors that I spent time with at lunch, that I don't know where I would be today. I'm saying we as Black women, we got to step into this mentoring thing. Yeah. We got to step in and take one mentor Black woman, one mentee Black girl, and spend time with her and check in with her and take her to tea and lunch and take her on a train ride, or do something with her for 1 full year.
Expand your horizons. That's what word.
Expand your horizons. Okay, thank you. I can't remember, child.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, so I just feel like they went our rhythm, but not our blues. You better tell it, Janine. Yeah, so it's kind of like we really gotta, because when it comes time for work, that's where I watch us struggle as Black people. Like, we want to do all the fluff shit, all the cute shit, but then we'll look and I don't know anybody else, I just can't look at Black people struggle and not say anything. I can't see a Black girl struggling and be like, oh well.
And ask her, how you doing? How you doing? And even speak to her, right?
Yeah.
I see Black girls all the time. Even women, we don't even speak to each other. That's one of the reasons why I started the Sacramento Sister Circle.
Right on.
Because I was walking around here in Sacramento. I had just came back home from Atlanta, devastated, right? And I see Black women, I would see Black men, and we don't even speak to each other. Like, the common decency to acknowledge each other's existence. Like, that's a problem. Like, how do we not do that, right? Let alone help someone we see them not doing well. Let alone just even reach out to the people that is in our family.
Right on.
Like, I feel like there's a huge disconnect. And I realize that people are tired. People are disconnected and disenchanted and hurt and traumatized. But, like, we still have a lot of work to do despite all of that. And our existence is depending on it.
It means everything to me. So that's why we have this orientation next on the 29th. I don't know where I got 30th from. I think 30th is the date with somebody else. So the 29th yes. at 6 p.m. here, depending on how many of you all show up. Earth Mama Healing Office. Bam, get it. And so depending on how many people come, we'll either be here, we may be, you know, if a lot of people come, we'll be next door. It was right, you'll see it.
Yeah.
But my thing, the goal is 100 Black women for 100 Black girls.
Yes.
You feel me? Because I know Black women are so powerful. We just talked about the historical legacy of Black women always reporting to duty through the ages.
Right.
I mean, even Harriet Tubman coming up. We need to be figuring out how we gonna take some of these young girls to see the Harry run. I'm gonna
Yes,
see it
we
myself
do.
first,
Yes,
and then I'm
we
gonna
do.
take some young. But we need to fill up a
You
theater.
know I'm gonna give you some money on that.
Right,
I
yeah,
do
you
that all
always
the
support
time.
my stuff. But I feel like that would start great conversations. I'm gonna tell you this, Christy. The other day in my class, it was actually yesterday. I ain't gonna say what school it was. Everybody had Hmong in the class. I had Filipinos. I had Mexicans or Latinos or Latinas. And we had black kids, so we did this whole thing. And we had one white girl, but I got her to break down that she's really not white. She comes from somewhere. So what are you, Russian? She was Irish and Russian, which was great. And not a lot of girls said they didn't know white people came from anywhere, but that was a whole other story. Because you got to make them fit into a box the way they got us in a box. But anyway, so then everybody else was talking about their culture, their language, their food, and where they're from. When it got to the black girls, all of them had the audacity to tell me that they was mixed, and some of them was blacker than 1,000 beautiful midnights.
It was mixed with what?
I don't know, but I
Gold,
think, but
what
when,
is it,
but
gold
when,
and
but when,
honey?
yeah.
Cocoa.
But when they had to talk about the things that represented their culture, they didn't have no language, they didn't have no food, they didn't have no traditional dance, they had none of that. And then they was like, well, we just black. But what that said to me that they really weren't proud. And they didn't really know who we were as black women, because we're the only one with the E gene that can produce every goddamn race there is. They all came from us. Scientists are even saying that we produce everybody on the planet. That's what the scientists are saying, in case you need to hear from a white person. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we can't have our babies feeling like they're connected to nothing. Right. And that's why I know we got to get in and do this work. That's all I'm saying. I mean, because that really made me feel some way to hear these beautiful chocolate babies, because a lot of them are really dark. I'm mixed, I'm this, I'm that. But what language you speak? They couldn't even say nothing. They was like, well, I mean, I said, so what are you? If the police stop right now, oh, I'll be black. Yeah. But no, there's more than just I'll be black.
Yeah.
But that's because we haven't taught them. And so 100 black women for 100 black girls.
Yes.
We see changes overnight.
So October the 29th, we'll be having our orientation where we're asking black women to come to get the orientation, get the training, get the understanding that they need to be a resource, to be a support, to be a mentor, to be a coach to young black girls that Rolanda works with in several of these schools across the city. And this will be our first time doing this. You know, there's all kind of stipulations where, you know, other places where you got to do this and you got to do this to mentor our young girls. But we are really going to make our best effort to like really bring women together. We're also going to be training and developing them too. What I've also learned in working with some of these women is that they didn't get some of this stuff. So they ain't giving it to their kids and they're not able to give it to other people. But I do feel like there is a want and a desire to like mentor and work with our young girls. And so we're going to create this opportunity for women to come and get this orientation and find out more about our mentorship program. And then you already got the girls.
The girls, I had them yesterday, last week. No, seriously. And every time I bring this up to my girls, my high school girls, we're going to also do some matching with some middle school girls as well, because some of them are already doing adult stuff. Like, I'm not trying to be funny, because they're so sexualized that we didn't even talk about that. I didn't even go into that little stat. I mean, you know, that stat, but how they talk about historically how our bodies were never our own. But I think we're back at that place again. Yes. Where like all they see with us is a commodity.
Sacramento is one of the highest in the country in sex trafficking. This corridor from the Bay Area to Sacramento to Nevada, like, yeah, we're like fourth in the country.
Girl, I'm about to faint right here on the floor. So the little girl Cupcake, her remains were found in the inside of a dumpster. Girl, don't get me, this is fucking ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry, I said I wasn't gonna cuss no more, but that's ridiculous. They just found her remains in the trash. I just can't. Let me show you what she looked like with her little cute self. This don't make no damn sense, y'all. This is a little baby right up on here. Make her thing big. Wow. So that the whole world should stop. I didn't even know that. I just found that. Somebody literally just texted me right here. That's ridiculous, y'all. And that says something about us that, you know, I don't know. I'm just kind of stunned. That just kind of stunned me right then and there. That's why I know we got to come to this fight, y'all. We are in a fight right now for our babies.
And for our own lives.
For our own lives, yeah. Because if they don't, I always say, you know, it's kind of like you could be at your last dying breath, but would you take that last dying breath and save someone? You may not even know what they become, but I tell you this, I remember people who did stuff for me when I was a kid, and probably I was wrong as probably hell, but they still was like, baby girl, that's not how it goes. Right. And you be like, huh? She don't even know like that. No, baby girl, that's not how I go.
Right.
You better than that.
Right.
And it made me bring my game up after I was like, who should they talking to?
We have a duty and a responsibility. The reason why we are here today is because of those women.
That's
what
real
if
talk.
they decided they didn't want to do anything and they wanted to just chill and just whatever, just take whatever was given to them? We would not be here today.
That's real talk. I just posted up here Tuesday, October the 29th, 6 p.m. Earth Mama Healing's office, 2251 Florence Road, Suite 50, Sacramento, California. Or you can email us, earthmamahealinglove@gmail.com, or
time?
inbox me. And that is going to be at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
So come,
We
y'all.
got work to do, ladies.
Yeah.
And,
This is a call to duty out here.
It's really, I think it's going to be really good. Somebody asked us about, well, what if, these mentors aren't good? Well, we have concluded that we're going to come to your door. Like, it's not going to be okay for you to do more harm to our young women. So we're really hoping to create community. We're hoping to build the relationships that we need with each other. There's young women that I've worked with before. They come up, they see me in community events, and they come up and they talk to me and they thank me for what I've done for them. It is no greater service than to give to these young women and to be a positive fixture in their lives. You don't know the things that these young people are going through. Some of the young people that I work with that are in foster care and former foster youth, they have dealt with things that you have never ever had to deal with as a grown ass woman.
Right on.
In my 45 years, I have heard and seen so many different things that our young women are working against, and most of them, and they rise above it at some point. We see them years later, and they're doing wonderful, right? But it's despite of, not because of.
Right on.
So we gotta do our work. This is an opportunity to get people involved. We always have people that's on Facebook and they be doing their thing, but hey, it's time to do some work, right?
Right on. I say you can still do your thing, but include some work in that. The
Always.
commitment is that once a week. So this is a 52-week commitment. But you need to check in with your young person once a week. I don't care if it's through text. We are so interconnected by this thing here.
FaceTime.
You can do whatever, yeah. And then the other thing is twice a month you have to do an activity with your young person.
And we're going to try to help facilitate some of those spaces. We're very new at this, and we're going to be doing a lot
Tina
of
said
trial
she down
and
with
error.
coming to the door. And we may come to the door with
Oh, we will
Vaseline
come
on
to
with
the
no
door.
earrings. I'm just saying.
Because that's another thing. It's like we're not creating programs and doing different things so that we can do more harm.
No, we're not at all.
That's not what we're about. So we ain't uplifting and inspiring and encouraging and uplifting these young women. Then, hey, if that's not your MO, if that's not what you're about, then please don't even come.
Yeah.
Because we really are looking for women that have the time, that have the energy, that really have the passion to work with young women. You can even bring your own children, right?
Right on.
And your family members. I always say that it's like you can't have a response about what people are doing for other people when you don't even do it for your own family.
Shut your mouth up.
Like you don't even do that for you. Other young women in your family, can they look up to you? Do you support them? Are you there for them? I can honestly say that I am, and it really that's part of it. So if you're that type of person that feels like you can do that and give to another young lady,
Right on.
that's what we're doing. And so if you want to be on board, October the 29th, 6 p.m., 2251 Florence Road.
That's right. I still got to post it
This
up
is
in
a
there.
Sacramento Sister Circle Earth Mama Healing collaboration.
One sister said she has 5 daughters, and so it would be so fun. Right on. Because I think a lot of these girls need extended family.
Yes.
That's how I think I got the term mama wrong, because I have my kid the first. But they're like, you feel like a mama. You do mom, And I'll be like, all right. But I think,
you Mama Ro, I'll be Auntie
yeah.
Christy.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? See, I tried to be auntie.
I'm a
but
mom I'm a mom tea.
Mom tea, I'll take that. I'm like, what? But I think there's this thing about being connected. And that's why I like it in communities. Some communities you say auntie or mama or big brother. Like, that's family energy.
Yeah.
And I think that we're looking for, because what did happen in the crack era, it broke a lot of those bonds.
Yes, it did.
And so sometimes young people don't know why they feel in a certain way. Like, we're supposed to look out for each other, but they don't really know what sometimes that really looks like. They just
and
know.
I also think we abandoned those that actually were taking those young people in and helping to raise them.
Right on.
And didn't give
I
them
agree.
the support. I know too many grandmothers and aunties. My mom was one of them. She raised 6 children that were not hers. and it's a selfless job,
Yes,
right?
it is.
You know,
Right on.
and it's not always, you know, that happy ending
Right
as
on.
well. But at the end of the day, you can say that you did something for somebody else. You gave it your best effort, and that's what we're looking for. That's what
right.
we're looking to do.
That's right. So we look forward to it. I know I do.
think it's exciting.
And I know we started off talking about violence and the criminalization of black girls and women, but it brings us to the mentorship.
But we also needed to talk about that because I don't
Yeah.
think people understand the state of where we're at, and this is a pivotal moment. And I think we're going to look back in time and think about like, well, what did we do?
Yes, there is. April Jean. I love April. She online. Hey, April. April said, "Hey, sis, as you are all training, let me make this bigger. I keep acting like I got young eyes. I don't have young eyes. On mentorship, is there a plan to ensure that mentors also have access to community resources that can support our youth? I came across so many people who are not aware of what exists and how to access the resources. Yes,
Yes,
because
and
you know
April,
what?
you're going to help
I
us
was
do
getting
it.
ready to say that. So yes,
April,
April.
you already know you on that,
April, you
boo.
already, you know, but for real, like that's gonna, you know, seriously, because I feel like, you
It's
know,
needed, and yes,
we're
we
pulling,
need that.
hey, look, we pulling everybody together. I'm not trying to do everything. I just know we're gonna do some management, keeping up with people, you know, stuff like that. But it's kind of like this is like a community, y'all. This
It's
is like a community
effort, right?
Like back in LA, they used to have what's called the Well, and the Well is where black women would gather on Saturdays. That's what I'm saying. History just means a lot to me. I learned so much from history. So back at what they call the Well, that they used to sometimes have at the Watts Towers, that's where all the black women got together on Saturdays. And it was black women who was way up there, who husbands like what's the man who used to be the mayor of LA, the black man. I could see his face so good. Mayor Bradley,
Yeah.
his wife used to, be out there. I mean, all of them. That's where black women came in those 80s, where they basically got together and
Yeah.
figured out how to take care of community. That's what we're talking about, family. That's what we talking about. That's why you have to revisit history to understand, well, what worked in the past.
Right.
What didn't work, so we make sure we don't do that shit, you
Right.
know. But it's kind of like, I just know when you gather up black women, we are so, it feels like magic. But now that I know that we are the archetype for the universe of the original mother, that's why when we get together, this shit feels like magic.
Yeah, because we are magic.
Because we are, right on.
And we be making magic out of some bullshit.
Hey, Madge, anybody been to Africa, you had those Madge season, her symbol, her sign is her in the kitchen and whatever's assistant. She says, Madge, you can make something out of nothing.
Yeah.
That's their slogan. And I'm like, I felt like that was my mama's slogan.
Lemonade out of lemons. We do it all, right?
Hey,
Yeah.
we come up with some other stuff. But I'm saying, so y'all, we definitely need to talk about, we definitely need to update about that. And I feel like we can do it as a people. I think.
And this is going to be a collective. Like me and Rolanda are taking a lead, but this is a collective. We don't have all the answers. We're going to be figuring this out as we go. But we know for sure that we want to make sure that we partner young women with women of this community, again, that will not do more harm, but that actually will support them, encourage them, giving them the resources. There's so much information that even like we come across, like even on the Sister Circle, like how are we making sure that this information is disseminated to the people that need it the most? Like we don't need to just give the information to the few little people over here and like hoard it. Oh yeah, we have all the information. No, we need to share this information. We need to help these young ladies. I have a program, and I just recognized we're giving this the young people in the program, the Bay Area Leadership Academy program. We're giving them stipends, and I realized the young lady, she kept not doing her W-9. And I was like, what is happening that she's not wanting to do her W-9? And I realized she didn't really know how to fill that out. And we were working with them and talking to them. There's a level of shame and embarrassment that a lot of our young girls feel because they don't know how to navigate and they don't know how to do things. And they're embarrassed and ashamed to ask. So we got to also pay attention too. You know, our girls are crying out for us, and we're not seeing them. We're not paying attention. We got our own stuff going on, but we have a responsibility and a duty to do more than what we've been doing.
So, Christian, when you were growing up, who mentored you?
I had the best mama ever, and I know everybody says their mama was the best. My mama was the best. And what I say is that she was made just for me. So my mom supported me in all my efforts. I was a chocolate baby girl, right? In a world of whiteness and black folks that often don't even appreciate that, right? So she equipped me and gave me the information. She told me how to cuss a person out. You know, she talked to me how to defend myself. She gave me self-esteem and confidence at a very young age, and she knew that she needed to do that because she knew what I was going to be facing as a young black, darker skinned young girl. And so that's what she did with me. She did that intentionally. She put people around me that supported me. She made sure I was part of programs. She made sure that I went to the best schools. She made sure that didn't nobody fuck with me. And I say that literally, and she'll say that too. She's like, you can do whatever you want to do to that one, but you ain't gonna fuck with mine. That's the mother that I came from. And I think, and she not only did that for me, she did it for other children. Like I said, she raised other children that were not born by her, but she just was the bomb. She didn't play that, and she still does that for people today.
Yes,
you know, she's a nurse. Let something be wrong, she give you unsolicited information all day long. I'll be like, mommy, like, just chill. Like, you can't help everybody, but that is in her heart to do. And so I'm really blessed to have had a mother that was like that. But she also made sure that I was surrounded by other people that were going to continue to support and uplift me in her efforts. Because she didn't do it on her own. She was a single mom. But she just made sure that I was surrounded by love. And I just even think about in relationships, like I was married for a very brief stint. It just like it didn't even happen, right? And one of the things that I had to remember in that very brief stint was that all the men in my life and my family adore me. How dare I be with somebody that doesn't? So that's something that has to be instilled in us. And we can forget it all the time because of the society and all the things that are going on in the world. But like, we have to instill this in our young women. Like, we're going to stumble, we're going to make mistakes, we're not always going to do what we should do. But when we have self-esteem and confidence and support, we can do anything. And we've shown that, right? We've shown that we can even survive and do great things with very little. Some people don't even have the mother that I have. I know I work with a lot of foster youth. They don't have any parents or family, right? But they are resilient and they are brilliant, and we have to make sure that we are helping for them to manifest that and to know that and to be that. And so that's the things that we should want to be taking credit for. When we think about our legacy and our life, that we were able to contribute to that. And so that's how it was for me. And I'm just feeling like I'm continuing to do what was given to me to other people. Like, it's something that has to continue. It can't stop with me. It has to continue. And when I lived in Atlanta, my mom was like, you need to bring your ass home. And I'd be like, Lord, I don't want to live in Sacramento. She's like, I don't care. The people that were here that loved and supported you, we need you to come back here and do the same thing that was done for you. And I eventually came back, and I feel like I've been doing it. But I think that's important to remember.
That's interesting. When you were talking, I was thinking about Harriet Tubman and how I don't even think she understood the impact that her life would have on people 100 years later.
Right.
That we still say her name, we still go to her gravesite, take her flowers, if you ever get a chance to go there. I bought dirt from there with pine cones for certain people. I had that same thing too, J-Mod. But I'm just saying, you think about the impact, and I think to me that speaks volumes. That we look up 100 years later, we will be in that great continuum of history that said, this is what you do when we're in crisis, or this is how we are accountable to each other as black women.
This is what you
girls.
build.
This is what you do. This is what you build. This is how we are to be made accountable. And I think that's something we just gotta do.
And we gotta remember that, like, this isn't, like you said, it's not new.
No.
Like, we're talking about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many phenomenal black women that we don't even know their names.
That's real talk.
And that's not okay.
That's real talk. So, Christy, thank you.
You're welcome.
For sitting here with me this evening, for talking about this. I think, Christy, and I'm just saying this, I think we got to figure out how to keep bringing these topics to people.
Yeah.
But I think that's what you got to do with black folks. You got to keep chipping away at us and really talking about that.
Yeah.
Knocking
down these walls and these barriers.
I think talking about the violence and the criminalization and what's going on with us, and then have a solution in it. I think sometimes
and doing our part.
Yeah, I'm not attracted to people who want to jump all the way to the end and then you end up building your shit on sand. Because you didn't, want to look at the situation, and then,
and then the wave just come and knock that shit down.
And
I actually think that's part of our history, right? Because we have built things, right? Mm-hmm. But where are they today? And why didn't we sustain them? Why did we not think that they were important enough to sustain?
That's real talk. That's real talk, Christy. Because I often wonder, like, damn, I was standing in front of the great elder, my ancestor now, Ida B. Wells.
Mm-hmm.
Barnett, is that her last name? I always remember Ida B. Wells. Barnett. In Chicago, and Sister Lakeisha took us on a tour, and I learned so much about Black Chicago. I loved it. But it was so fascinating standing in front of this woman's house and understanding her whole history.
Yeah,
like how she fought against.
She's my favorite.
Really, oh, girl.
She had a family. She had children. She was traveling abroad. Now you already know. Like, how was you traveling abroad in like the early 1900s?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking about the work and the things that were happening, the travesties that were happening to our people in America.
Yeah, and how she had to get up out of the
writer. She was. Yeah. She did a newsletter. She was like.
I mean, she stood up to power when you didn't have no damn Facebook camera.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
She stood up to power when there was a
you could be lynched
where you could be
on
killed.
The spot.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an immediate danger to your life.
So when you think about those great kind of elders, we just said Harriet Tubman, we just talked about Sister Ida B. Wells. There's so many people. I'm just kind of like, wow. I feel like I have all of those stacked in me.
You do.
And we all do, yeah. But so when you feel like, man, I'm in this fight, and you think about you go back, because that's what generals do. They go back and study past wars, and that's how they come up with their strategy.
Yeah.
They just be like, oh my God, I'm so great. No, they go back and study and be like, this is what they did in 1619, and this is what they did. So that's what we got to do. Yeah. Like, you have to pull on that strength to sit. I'm driving across the country. I feel like I'm in the spirit of Harriet Tubman. Yeah. Except for I'm in the air-conditioned van, you feel me? But, but just the energy. What will I show my baby? What will I expose them to? I feel like I'm in her energy, if you will. And I'm reminded of that. So for me, it's just a continuum. It's not anything new. That's how I know we have the answer.
Yeah, we have the answer. We are the answer.
Yeah, we are the answer. We are who we've been waiting for.
Amen.
Right on. So with that, y'all, we checking out of here. Thank y'all for chiming in. Please don't forget, mentorship program, October the 29th. Send us an email, text us here, 2251 Foreign Road, Suite 50. 100 black women mentors for 100 black girl mentees, y'all. Stay up.
Ready, set, go.
Hey.